Will Hawthorne, a linebacker that Nebraska was recruiting. And look, I think a month ago, this was kind of it looked like Nebraska was going to get him. But Gilbert, Iowa is essentially in Ames, Iowa. It's like Waverly to Lincoln.
He grew up 7 miles from Jack Trice Stadium.
It's like Waverly.
I'm sorry, 7 minutes. 7 minutes, yeah. 7 minutes. And he was a regular at Jack Trice Stadium. I was reading accounts, and as I read it, I'm like, how did Nebraska even get in on him? I kind of tipped my cap to Nebraska for even making this a horse race.
Yeah, it's just, but you're talking about the future of the game now.
Yeah, and this is a discussion. Go ahead.
But when you talk about the future of where it's all heading in the resources and the arms races, the Big 12 and the ACC are going to be at significant disadvantages to the Big 10 and the SEC.
I wonder, Sean, and I'm wondering, I'm not taking you on. I'm wondering, do kids look at that closely?
But
do they look at it like, wow, the Big Ten's got a lot more money and their TV deal is better. I'm going to go there.
And it's also going to mean the Big Ten and the SEC, they're going to be a lot more cutthroat as far as like players. And with this new roster cap.
What do you mean by cutthroat?
Like letting go of players, like moving on from players.
I think so.
I mean, do the math. What's 105 divided by 15 million?
I don't know.
It's over. It's like $143,000 a player.
Okay.
So if that's the number, which that's the number being tossed around, is that 15 million of money will be in-house. There's a lot of money going to these players that's going to go. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, the collective will still be involved with players. Mm-hmm.
Some guys are getting a lot more than 143.
Right. The pressure though, for these players to perform, because you're no longer an amateur.
Not really.
You're making more money than 90% of people in the state of Nebraska as an 18-year-old kid.
Wow. That's great perspective, Sean.
I mean, it's like, how many people on the stands make $143,000 a year?
Right.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
I mean, some obviously a lot, but not a good majority.
No. So Hawthorne picks Iowa State, and now that it's done and you go back and read some of the stuff he has said, it's not overly surprising. It's interesting. I'll give you an example. He talks about the facilities at Iowa State. They're so great. They have such a great training facility there. They're brand new. He talks about the relationship with the coaches. So all things being equal, if he's looking at facilities, likes Iowa State's, Nebraska's got good facilities, great facilities, but if Iowa State does too, the relationship with the coaches are pretty even, then maybe, you just stay home.
And they've done a good job of getting their local players this year. Alex Mansky, the top player in Iowa, 4-star quarterback, he's at Iowa State. Jack Limbaugh, actually a Husker legacy. His dad played. Amber Holmquist is his mom. He's committed to Iowa State.
Yeah. The pull of home is really strong. But, God, there was a time you really liked Will Hawthorne going to Nebraska.
I mean, I liked Alex Mansky at one point, but then Raiola committed.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, then we have another one closer to home.
Christian Jones.
Really interesting.
And he has now said, he told On3 Steve Wilfong that he's looking probably by like week 3 of the season to have a decision, and Oklahoma and Nebraska are in that conversation. Miami, I believe Wisconsin.
It's Oklahoma, Miami, Nebraska.
Those are the 3 main ones.
3.
But Oklahoma and Nebraska are the 2 places he's taken official visits to.
And he's got to take another official.
Well, Miami's a potential player now.
Yeah. He's going to take an official to Miami during the season, I think. Anyway, if you read the article by Wilfong, if you read it and you just are reading tea leaves, it looks like Oklahoma to me. It looks like Oklahoma. Oh, my God, Nebraska fans are going to be mad that I said that. But what do you think?
I think that's the feel right now. But I do think losing Hawthorne this week, now that it's official, I think Nebraska's had a pretty good read on Hawthorne not coming for a week, maybe close to a week.
Okay.
That's when we found out about Hawthorne, I know. But I would say that it's freed up some more resources and opportunity. So, like, if NIL is the issue, I think Nebraska can do what needs to be done. And they're going to give Christian Jones a very good opportunity through NIL. But it's a matter of what he wants and what he's looking for. And maybe he's waiting 2 or 3 weeks because he wants to see what this looks like.
I know.
He doesn't want to get
caught.
I
don't think there's any question.
He's not going to get caught just drinking the Kool-Aid.
Right.
And then not liking getting buyer's remorse. Like, if Nebraska comes out early and looks great, that's a good sign.
Oh, I think the Christian Jones recruitment, for instance, I don't think it hinges on the Colorado game, but I think it could be affected by the Colorado game. He's not. I mean, I just wonder if part of the reason he's announcing 3 games into his high school season is what he's saying is because he wants to see what Nebraska looks like out of the gate. You just wonder if that's part of this. He says he loves Venables. I mean, he obviously has a great relationship with Brent Venables, the Oklahoma head coach. That if you're reading that article by Steve Wilfong, which I encourage people to do because he comments on each of the schools, Christian Jones comments on each of the schools. If you read it, I think you say, "Oh God, those are very glowing comments on Oklahoma." You know, in Nebraska, it's that same conversation we have all the time. It's kind of a wait and see. You know, that it looks like they have a good thing going, but you want to see it. The Nebraska conversation to me is really, really interesting because I hear you all the time saying they got to win. I hear you told your friend today they got to win. There's a balance though. It's only year 2. It's just year 2 of Rule. I mean, there shouldn't be an excessive amount of pressure, right?
Well, I mean, a winning record for crying out loud. I think I'm not talking about winning the Big Ten here.
Right, I know.
I'm talking about like a simple milestone of going back to a bowl game.
Okay.
I want to scramble in an airport with you during the holiday season.
I do too, Sean.
I want to see a stressed out Steve Sipple.
And let's face it, the other part of the conversation that's in your favor, I guess, it's fair. It's a good roster. It would be really disappointing to me if they didn't make a bowl with this roster. This is a bowl game.
Well, in the schedule.
Yeah.
Look, Frost had a roster in 2021.
Yeah.
That was good enough to definitely make a bowl game.
100.
I mean, they went toe-to-toe with Michigan and Ohio State. Toe-to-toe.
Toe-to-toe.
And they didn't make up. They went 3-9.
Think about some of the guys on that team.
But they played 8 opponents that won 9 or more games. 8 opponents.
Yep. Not this year. I mean, I think
their first 7. Do you know how many teams they play that went to a bowl game?
1.
Rutgers. I mean, come on.
Right.
Come on.
No, you're right.
Come on.
It's schedule, but it's also roster. It's a good roster. They're good.
And the road games are like Purdue and Indiana are manageable road trips.
Not easy.
USC will be interesting because if Nebraska is in a good position, there will be a lot of Nebraska fans that go out there.
God, dang, I'd like to see them beat USC on the road.
Well, and do you understand that night game in Iowa? Having it at night opens up the door for so many more Nebraska fans.
Yeah.
Because the challenge at an 11 a.m. game on Black Friday.
I can't get there.
Well, I mean, it just kind of cuts into your Thanksgiving and you got to leave early, like 5 a.m. You're still
and there's seats available.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
there's seats.
They're struck good. If Nebraska is like 7-4 or better, 8-3, something like that.
God, 8-3 would be.
Can you imagine what that game will be like here?
Yeah.
Like people will load up on the interstate and go out there and stay out there and I mean, they want.
Oh yeah, if Nebraska's 8-3, there'll be a lot.
I mean, they've lost these games to Iowa by like a field goal almost every year, and Iowa fans hold that over them like there's this major gap between the two programs, and there is when you measure the win versus loss, but they're very close in a lot of respects.
Okay, yeah, yes,
but they rub it in Nebraska's face any way they get, and Nebraska fans would love to go to Iowa City and see a win, and Iowa's going to be good this year.
Defenses are going to be really hard to deal with. Their defense is going to be really hard to deal with.
And they too have a great schedule. Like Nebraska, Iowa, Rutgers might have the best schedules in the Big Ten.
So yeah, interesting discussion, Sean. Anyway, I 100% agree with you that the recruiting element needs a winning season, a good winning season.
And there's that Iowa schedule. Look at that schedule.
I'm looking.
Iowa State week 2 at Minnesota and at Ohio State. That's a sneaky stretch right there.
It is. Minnesota is very much a rivalry game for Iowa, so it adds to it. That's manageable.
Hey,
any schedule though now. I mean, that schedule's harder than Nebraska.
Don't
tell you that.
Don't sleep on at UCLA at Maryland. That's a tough back-to-back stretch.
I'm not sleeping on Sean. That schedule's tougher than Nebraska's. It's tougher.
It is weird to me Nebraska's not playing Northwestern or Minnesota.
That is weird.
The first year since Nebraska's been a Big Ten member, they will not play those teams.
Real weird.
Iowa will be the only opponent Nebraska's played now all 14 years they've been in this league.
Let's cap this
All right.
segment. Hold on. How would you feel about Nebraska's recruiting class? How would it impact it if they don't get either Jones or Hawthorne?
I would say that if they have a good year, they're going to keep recruiting Dawson Merritt.
Okay.
I think they're going to keep trying things like that. I mean, look, if they have a good season and they have something to sell, don't ever underestimate putting the salesman on the road when they have something to sell.
Right.